Okay, so someone asked me to do a video of how to set up a drum set. There are obviously any number of ways to do this. There are basically three schools of thought, I think. There's the everything mounted high and angled towards you, and then there's put it as low as you can and put it as flat as you can. Those are the two extremes. And then there is my kind of philosophy, which is angle it enough so that it's easy to hit, but so that you don't angle it too much so that it's hard to hit. Okay, so I'll explain what I mean. I'm sure you've all seen the Letterman show. Their drummer Anton Fig, great drummer, and I believe he actually said in an interview once that the reason he does this is because he's sort of part of the show and he wants to be seen as a human behind the drums, and the cymbals, when mounted low, would impede that. So he mounts his cymbals way up here, his ride cymbals way up here, and it's angled at about a 70 or 80 degree angle towards. So he ends up having to play like this. Okay, now, like I said, he's a great drummer. It works for him. But I don't think it's really conducive to ease or comfortable playing to hold your arm out like this for long periods of time. I can't imagine playing 3 hours a night with my arm over like this. Just try sometime. Try holding your arm at arm's length for 5 minutes, and it'll start shaking and it'll fall down. It's not, I mean, your arm probably weighs 10 or 15 pounds, so it just seems to me that it's physically easier to have your arm being supported by your shoulder rather than the muscles of your arm. So if you hang it down like this, it's rather normal. And so all I have to do is hold up this drumstick, which weighs ounces, and maybe 3 or 4 pounds of my arm, and I can get. Anyway, that's just part of the showmanship of setting up your drums. Personally, for me, I just, it's pure utility as far as I'm concerned. It's just a byproduct that it looks cool, but for me, it's just, is everything easy to hit? Is everything far enough apart that I can hit it without worrying about hitting anything else by accident? And is it close enough together that I can hit everything with economy? So let's start with the drums themselves. First of all, the snare drum and the bass drum. The bass drum is located a comfortable distance away so that if this is my shin and this is my leg, it's kind of like this, and this is my ass sitting on the seat. So the thigh is just a little bit down from horizontal, and then the knee is a little bit out from the vertical. And so what that does is allow me to, when I lift up my leg, I don't have to lift it up past the horizontal. So there are muscles in my back right here, I think they're called hip flexors, that I don't have to use. Even though I play heel up, I don't have to actually lift my whole leg. Again, it's a weight issue. It just seems to me to be pointless to lift a 50-pound leg up 500 times every couple minutes, so I have it at a comfortable distance, and I have my hi-hat exactly the same angle. If you were to draw a line from the center of my snare drum to my belly button, this angle is exactly the same as this angle. Okay? And it's about, I'd say it's about 30 degrees. And that is all just a function of my size, my leg length, and it's a very personal thing. I'm just telling you how I like to have it. And then again, the distance from the center of the snare drum to my belly button is comfortable, so that when I hang my arms comfortably by my side, the sticks are in the center of this drum, you know? And if you also notice, if I put my stick up on the rim and on the center of this drum, and then I lift it up, it's slightly angled down. Okay? And if you look at my snare drum, it's slightly angled down. It's not angled way down like a classical jazz guy has it angled down like 20 degrees because he plays traditional grip or anything like that. But if I follow through to my snare drum, I find that the stick is down. Okay, so I just have it angled down so I can have a nice rim shot, but I can also dance around with the tips of the sticks without having to lift my hands way up here. I've seen a lot of people with their snare drum angled like my toms. I just don't know how they can play that way, because you'd have to do this to get a rim shot. Either that or lift the snare way the hell up here. And then you're losing, you can't lift your elbow up. Again, it's just all physically dictated by the size of you, okay? Which brings us next to the toms. A lot of people, I would say more people have them slanted a lot than have them flat. I think a lot of people have heard of Eric Singer. He plays with Kiss sometimes. He's kind of a rent-a drummer. His toms are like flat, like my snare drum. I don't know. And when he plays like this. Like you can see, he has to play like this. I can't see how he does it, but he's a good drummer again. And it all comes down to what you're used to. But for the average drummer, I wouldn't suggest going to flat toms, because you're going to be hitting rim shots left and right, and it's not going to be pretty for the first little while. So let's go to all the people who have their toms, facing them, basically. I think this is kind of an offshoot from the fact that they started playing drums when they were young and small. And at that time, their head was maybe here. They couldn't have a shallow tom deflection like that. They needed them pointed almost towards them so they could hit, because the toms were eye level, so they'd be doing a roll like this. Okay, so they play like that for 3 or 4 years. Maybe they don't grow. Maybe they started when they were 7 years old. There's a million reasons. And they just got comfortable with slanted toms a lot. But if you grow to full height, 5'10", 6 feet, whatever, if your toms are slanted towards you, you're going to be playing like this if you want to have any kind of technique on the toms. Either that, if you play like this, you're going to be ruining heads, because your drumsticks are going to be hitting at this kind of an angle. And if you look at anyone's toms, a beginner's toms, the more they're slanted, the more their heads are pitted. I guarantee it's a fact. It just is, because of the angle of attack and the amount of tip that hits your and the more chance that you have of pitting your drum, because you're actually poking at your drum with your drumstick instead of hitting the drum. Okay, now, that said, again, there's lots of good drummers that have their toms angled highly, but the vast majority of good drummers don't. So, read the evidence.